Piss off the right kind of people and you'll have quit my curiosity. Follow that up with a trailer featuring an original IP, flashy swordplay, beautiful graphics, and some lovely bubbly jubblies, and well...
You had my curiosity, but now you have my attention.
But even so, I remained hesitant on pre-ordering Stellar Blade. Given the absolute state of the industry, I tend to wait a bit after release to give the devs time to finish their damn game. Also, it was a Sony exclusive at launch. As far as I'm concerned, that company can take a running leap feet first into a jet turbine. Yet, I had to admit there was something about this game that stoked the cold ashes of my black dead heart. Well, let's be real, it was two things in particular. Then Shift Up did something I haven't seen in a long time. A public demo with the option to carry over progress to the main game. Baller move, my dude. The hype around this game was already approaching escape velocity thanks to the collective meltdown of games journalists and the mockery they rightly deserved. That demo launched it into low orbit. 20 minutes of play was enough to earn my pre-order, and shit, I put another 20 hours in just ticking down the days when my copy arrived. I was a bit OP for that first area. After my first playthrough, I was glad to see my faith was not wholly misplaced. Stellar Blade is a good game. Not great, mind you, it has its issues, but overall it was a fun experience that kept drawing me back for subsequent playthroughs. I'm going to start with what the game does best.
I'm not apologizing.
Gameplay is superb. Hack and slash with a dab of Souls elements to create some intense, fast-paced battles. It has one of those simple-to-learn yet hard-to-master kind of mechanics while offering plenty of flexibility for different build types. I can't say it's anything groundbreaking or revolutionary, but Stellar Blade delivers a satisfying loop that makes it replayable multiple times over without becoming dull. There was a noticeable input delay when it comes to blocks and dodges, nothing immersion breaking, and after a bit of practice, hitting the timing was no issue at all. Exploration wasn't anything fancy, but there was enough tucked away in the semi-open world to discover. Yeah, there's yellow paint to guide folk, it's the 2020s, whatever, leave me alone. What I don't get is why games with scan mechanics feel the need for obvious markings in the world. Looking at you, Horizon. The Abyss levels were an excellent touch. They forced the drone cannon to take center stage, taking away the fast-paced swordplay and turning the game into more of a claustrophobic horror shooter. There should have been more areas like that. There wasn't a reason to give the drone cannon much love outside of them. Best of all, I did not notice any major bugs at launch.
No way!
Yes way. There were a couple instances of clipping, a few splurged out mobs, and one time a section didn't render properly but a reload solved that. Nothing game breaking at all from start to finish. Remember when games were fully playable on day one? Pepperidge Farms remembers. The skill tree simulator was a neat feature. Being able to test out skills before committing and properly planning out a build was immensely helpful. Plus, it never hurts to get some practice in. Saved my ass in the second half of the game. Originally, I went with the beta build on my first playthrough. Charging that meter relies on perfect blocks, so naturally I focused on those, relegating dodges to only when necessary. Plus, blocks give stagger, and I'm all about those takedowns. However, once I unlocked the burst tree, I needed to get the hang of dodges because that meter is primarily charged with perfect dodges. Yeah, riposte and blinks also do it, but those don't crop up enough. Ended up committing to a beta burst hybrid build, and hot damn, unleashing those skills in rapid succession against whichever poor bastard stood in my way was satisfying as hell. On that note, enemy variety is solid. Higher tier mobs added a few extra movesets from their lower counterparts, and it kept things interesting. Except for the bosses. Disregarding the late game ones, the others just end up repeating, keeping the same movesets and patterns as the first encounter. Could have done with a bit more variety when facing them down again. Another ding against Stellar Blade would be the current trend of making enemies tankier on harder difficulties. I did not notice any change in mob boss behavior or their patterns between any difficulty. This does compound into one hell of an issue on hard mode towards the end. Up until then, there is a gradual increase in enemy difficulty that was manageable, but those last 3 bosses gave me Dark Souls flashbacks. Christ, killing Adam on hard mode in the skin suit took nearly 6 hours and I almost lost a monitor. Very disappointed there wasn't an achievement for beating the game on hard mode in the skin suit. If there were, it should have been called barebacking. Stop him! The only thing holding this game back from greatness would be the narrative. I would argue no narrative would have been a better alternative and would rate the game in the high 80s if that were the case. Dialogue was staler than Darkseid Phil's marriage and the characters felt more like props to justify a boss fight. Certain character beats, and I use that term very loosely, had no prior setup and fell flat in execution. The most notable example is when Eve decides to go apeshit on Raven. See, Eve is big mad at her for killing Taki, but that's all we've got. Yeah, she saved Eve in the opening, but I'd expect any soldier to do that for their comrades. To give that death meaning requires an exploration of their relationship. What exactly did they mean to each other, or how did Taki inspire Eve to push onward apart from mission? I got a fish out of water vibe from Eve after that opening sequence, and it would have been a good opportunity to integrate some backstory between the two that serves to build up character motivation for our beautiful protagonist. It would have given that scene the meaning it was craving for. Oh, and I cannot forget about Adam. What the fuck? I have no idea why they bothered with that twist at the end, and his plan to create a new species came out of nowhere. The only thing I could potentially point to as a setup for this is when taking down a corrupted Taki, yet the game fails to even address the issue. Hey, this airborne squad member was corrupted by the Naytibas. Does this mean something sinister's on the horizon? Nope, no follow-up, no questions, just move along to the next hypercell, have a nice day. Christ, the legacies left behind by Raven were clearly meant to deliver backstory to the world and make Eve question what she had been told her whole life regarding Mother Sphere and the war. Yet at no point does she push back on Lily's blind faith or pressure Adam to investigate further. Stellar Blade isn't a perfect game, but it's a damn good start for a studio primarily known for mobile. Despite its shortcomings, it succeeds where most games these days fail, delivering satisfying mechanics in a stable, playable state that keep folk immersed through several playthroughs. I was happy to see its success both as a PlayStation 5 exclusive and again when it came to PC. No surprise that a sequel is in the works. Let's hope next time around they spring for a writer and turn this game into the mammoth it has the potential to be. Just don't hire anyone from the West. I don't want Eve or any of these characters looking like they walked out of a Portland convention hall. And all that censorship bullshit that Sony pulled? Yeah, don't do that again either. Stay multi-platform if possible and tell anyone who complains about sexualized character design to go find a jet turbine.